Greetings. My name is John Savers, and this is Top Hat and Buttered Popcorn. I'm your host, and today we'll consider a recent film, Get Shorty. Now, this film was produced by Danny DeVito and a few others, directed by Sonnenfeld, and starring a gaggle of second-tier actors, over-the-hill actors, or primarily comic actors. The lead, so to speak, is John Travolta, who plays a character, Chili Palmer. We also have Gene Hackman as a Hollywood producer, Harry Zim. We have Danny DeVito himself starring as a Hollywood movie star by the name of Martin Weir. We also have appearances and sort of cameo roles by Penny Marshall and Bette Midler. There's an interesting portrayal by Farina of the character Ray Bones Barboni. This particular film is interesting in a number of ways. It's basically a light comedy. It's not a movie that really draws guffaws, belly laughs and so forth, but there are a lot of smiles, light chuckles, and so that kind of humor in this. There is also an element of real nastiness in this film, even though it is basically a light comedy. And it kind of reminds you in the way the Shakespearean tragedies in which low burlesque was often employed in various scenes along the way. This is sort of the flip side of that, although in no way in terms of quality to be compared with a Shakespearean product. Nevertheless, this is a good film. I like this film and recommend it. This film shows Travolta, I think, as well as he can be shown. He is a force in this movie. He has weight in this movie, and it's good that he does because he plays a heavy. And he is the character that gives linear direction to this particular film. He's very effective at this particular performance. It does not require great acting skills, but rather an ability to present a presence. And this he does well, and in the film he plays a loan shark, a sort of villainous character in the way, but this whole world or type of character of the underworld, so to speak, is handled with a certain charm or kindness or humor, something that takes the edge off it a little bit. We see almost Runyon-esque characters or aspects of this in the Farina character, and we also, I think, see in John Travolta's character catching a little bit of the personalities we saw in Pacino's Godfather 2, Sly Stallone's Rocky, because Rocky, after all, started out as a loan shark's enforcer, and also Brando's Godfather 1. And there are certain little tones to the presentation Travolta makes of this role in this character. Now, the film begins, and parenthetically, I'd like to also state that there was a character and actress, Renee Russo, who plays a starlet named Flores, who is part of Harry Zim's filmmaking set. Also, now the theme of this movie might be behind every great producer is a great loan shark. That being so, now the film opens up with Travolta with a friend in a restaurant in Miami. And they're carrying on just the typical kind of conversation, usual sort of chit-chat and so forth. And we see an associate in the business, so to speak, in the restaurant. He notices Chili Palmer, and Chili Palmer, that is Travolta, notices him. The other gent, Farina, playing Ray Bones Barboni, comes over and makes what for him is a stab at humor related to the name of Chili. And then he leaves with his associate. He has a kind of a bodyguard driver, a guy who looks somewhat like Mr. T, missing a few of the necklaces and so forth, gold bracelets and so forth. And with a more normal haircut, I think, we'd also add. Now, it just so happens that Bones walks off with Chili Palmer's coat. And so when Chili Palmer gets ready to leave and goes and asks for his coat, the maitre d' or the restaurant owner, manager, says, "Well, I gave it to Mr. Barboni." "You did what?" "I gave it to Mr. Barboni." "Well, why did you do that?" "Well, his coat was missing." "His coat was missing, so you give him mine?" Well, Travolta's character is not pleased, not happy at all. He gets his pal, someone I think whose name is Elmo. I couldn't quite make that out. Looks a little bit like a weasel. At any rate, they go over to Barboni's abode, and Travolta's sidekick or associate Elmo is trying to caution him. This is maybe something that shouldn't be done. You might just get shot dead for doing this, you know, and why do this just for a coat? And Travolta is determined to get that coat back, knocks on the door, and pops Barboni on the nose, breaking his nose, and goes in and gets his coat. Well, the character Chili Palmer can get away with this because he, as it turns out, is the man in Miami, Momo, a Brooklyn mafiosi of some clout. And it turns out that Ray Bones Barboni is associated with a Miami character in the business, but who is of a lesser status than Momo. So when Ray goes and wants revenge, he's cautioned that you know, Chili is Momo's man, and so let things stand. There's a kind of a competitiveness between these two characters, Chili Palmer and Ray Bones, and this continues through the movie. And in point of fact, Travolta's character, his patron is unfortunately died early. He went to a surprise party. It was such a surprise he killed over dead from a heart attack. And this gives Ray Bones then a certain status above that of Chili Palmer, and he is quick to exert this status. And so he basically sends Travolta to collect on a loan shark a debt that the person who owned it has fled the scene. This particular person was a proprietor of a dry cleaning store, and he was going to take a trip, and just by chance missed his plane, and the plane crashed, carrying his luggage and so forth, so everyone thought he was dead. He has his wife collect from the airline company in a settlement, bringing in about $300,000 in loot. So he has an opportunity few people have of having a cake and enjoying it too. He takes the loot and goes to Florida, no doubt telling his wife that he will have her, he will send for her shortly, and I'm sure that she's hoping there'll be some loot left when she gets there. But be that as it may, he does go to Vegas. He is a free spender, has some luck at the tables, and increases his take, which is unusual. But I think for being a little free with the hands in regard to the casinos, female employees, including maybe goosing one, he was escorted out of Vegas because this combination of free hands and also undesired taking of money by the means of good luck kind of worked against him staying in Vegas, apparently. At any rate, he is escorted out of town. You would be led to believe he's escorted out to Vegas and sent on with a one-way ticket to L.A., where he is at that point in time. Travolta goes to Vegas, talks to the casino owner, who apparently knows him, and they have a heart-to-heart talk about this, and the casino owner brings up a point, which is that, well, Chili, if you're going to L.A. to hunt down this guy, we have a little business that you could do for us at the same time. It seems that a Hollywood producer owed this casino something like $160,000. They had his markers and so forth, and they wanted the money. He was not too quick with the payment, and perhaps Chili could give a little talk to the man. And so Chili agrees to do this. In fact, he goes to L.A., and the first person he looks up is this producer, Harry Zim. Now, we are introduced to Harry Zim. Gene Hackman plays this character and plays him well. He is in bed with his sometime starlet, Ms. Flores, played by Renee Russo, also well. And they are awakened by the sounds of the television downstairs. Now, I will say, as an aside on this particular matter, that John Travolta's character, Chili Palmer, is a movie buff. And he's one of these people who is very familiar with the old movies, the classics and so forth, and who starred in and who directed. So much so that he can watch a movie and be delivering the dialogue even before the actor or actress in the film. So we have this particular angle. We also have the Harry Zim character going down and confronting him and learning that there is this problem, and there is this debt owed. And Travolta plays this particular character with a good deal of power, a quiet power that he does not usually demonstrate a threatening, overtly threatening mode, but you have the idea that he has that too if he wants to employ it. Harry Zim began to talk to Chili Palmer and explain his problems. It seems that he, in his film business, and he is apparently a takeoff of Corman. He makes nothing but horror movies, and this particular production of Get Shorty takes a good deal of fun at depicting his movie posters and so forth. And as mentioned, Flores has starred in some of his movies. And he is trying to make another film, but he owes a local West Coast mafia group, not mafia group, but the organized crime, or a little crime group under a gentleman named Mo, a tall black gentleman with a shaven head. And his little crew, who operate through a limousine front, they rent limousines as a front, and apparently deal in drugs and so forth. He has been backed up to the tune of around $200,000 by these people to make a film, which he has not made. In fact, he doesn't have the money to make the film. And so it's kind of delaying them, and they're kind of interested in getting their money, and so it's a matter of priority. The casinos, Mo and his crew, who to pay first, you know, it's such problems, you know, you don't need. But at any rate, Chili Palmer tells him that not to worry, I'll talk to these people and make them understand the situation, and I'm sure that they'll be reasonable. In fact, a meeting is set up. But before this goes on, the Harry Zim and Chili Palmer characters spend most of the night talking about the movie business. And it just so happens that the Chili Palmer character is a screenwriter in the making, so to speak. He is putting together a screenplay, more or less a true tale of his own efforts as a loan shark in chasing down this proprietor of the cleaning business. And he tells this to Harry Zim, who's pretty excited about it, and they agree that this maybe should be pursued. And now, this particular angle of the Travolta character producing a screenplay within the movie kind of recapitulates a recurring theme of some vintage in Hollywood, which is the film within the film. And this is a variation of that, and it's almost autobiographical from the point of view of Chili Palmer, and perhaps for that reason has a certain force in the minds of Harry Zim and so forth. Further, first of all, some duplicity has to take place, and one of the pieces of duplicity is that the Chili Palmer character does meet the cleaning fellow, the proprietor, does get his bag full of money, and lets Harry know, or Harry finds out about this, and calls Ray Bones Balboni and tells him a little bit about what Chili Palmer has been doing. There's a little bit of the stabbing of the back in this particular movie, and these people are not sterling characters at all. There's also a possible alliance and a possible double cross at works with the Mo character. Mo meets Chili Palmer at an arranged meeting. Harry Zim is supposed to act in a certain way, and of course does not follow the script at all. In that way is like some actors. But at any rate, the point has gotten across to Mo that a new player is on the scene, and somebody with some clout in this Chili Palmer, whoever he may be. Now, Mo has a bodyguard named Bear, who appears to be somebody with a Tennessee or Alabama type origin, and supposedly a stuntman who has been in some 60 films, also a power lifter and all that. Plus a smaller guy who looks a little bit like Martin Scorsese, and has this big gun in his waistband and kind of hyper. And he is always threatening and stuff like this, but he's so stupid about the whole deal. He could be shot about 15 times before he even got his hand on his gun. And so kind of a amateur in the way. And we do see Travolta having a confrontation. He implies as much to Mo and his crew, and in fact makes a humiliating demonstration to Bear, who takes quite a spill and gets injured in other areas. But anyway, we do see that Travolta has the ability to back up his confident way. Anyway, the film progresses, and we see this sort of film within a film developing, and it's all up to them to get a star. A great star would be wonderful to carry this film, somebody who is a first-rate actor and known to all, and that would put Harry Zim and Chili Palmer over the hump in the production of this particular film. And they think in terms of Martin Weir. For this reason, Martin Weir is the Danny DeVito character, and he's played with a good deal of the vanity that is stereotypically associated with big league actors in Hollywood. In fact, the name Weir sort of suggests we are, and might be thought as an amalgamation, an incarnation of all the vanities and faults and some of the good things also in actors and actresses of this celebrity set. At any rate, Travolta interests him. Prior to the meeting of Travolta and Danny DeVito, the characters, Harry Zim had asked, well, how are you going to get a man of this stature to play this role? And Chili Palmer has said, well, I'll just put a gun to his head and tell him we need him, you know, words to this effect. The old, I'll make him an offer he can't refuse. Kind of a way of doing that has cropped up more than once in this particular film. Anyway, they do get Martin Weir interested, and he is going to play the loan shark, and they have some comic scenes in which he is trying to capture the persona of this particular loan shark with the help of Chili Palmer, who is, after all, the real thing. Now, this all comes together after some more violence, and as I mentioned, this film does have some real violence, and lots of undertone of violence, implications of violence in this film. You have a tendency to kind of overlook that or forget that because of the light comedy which kind of suffuses this film. And we have the entry into this scene, this West Coast scene of Ray Bones Barbone, who gives Harry Zim a good whipping, and in fact breaks his jaw and makes many parts of his body tender. Now, in a way, it's Harry's fault because he had gotten on the phone and made some information available to Barbone and Ray, the doings of Chili Palmer in hunting down the loan shark debt. And that's what brought Barbone to Hollywood and to Harry Zim and caused this violent introduction. Of course, Barbone was strictly interested in his money and thought that Harry was holding out. As an aside, now there's a curious side matter going on at this time, related more to the Moe character at this point in time than to Chili Palmer. Now, it involves a drug deal which is taking place between Moe's little gang and some Latino nabob, drug nabob, and who this particular nabob, Escobar, has sent his brother-in-law, Yayo, up to L.A. to collect, and they had this scene in the international airport, which was rather funny. In conclusion, this title gets Shorty, and I think there must have been some effort on the part of the people who put this together to make the title a little obscure. But of course, it is clear into the movie that the Shorty refers to Martin Weir, and it's kind of interesting that at the very end of this film, when the film is in production, Harry Zim is producing, directing. Apparently has Penny Marshall in a cameo come in as a director, or assistant director, associate director. The Chili Palmer character begins to talk a little bit about maybe Martin Weir is not right for the role after all, just too short. They were falling behind 2 weeks already and had gotten almost nowhere. They were making take after take after take. So at the end we see the sort of rising vanity of Chili Palmer as a producer. We do note that earlier on he had said that one of the reasons he was interested in being a producer was that apparently you didn't have to know anything.